It's me. It's me. Standing in the need. 1, 2.
I mean the maze, I'm sorry, the maze. Oh, the maze. It's not in the maze.
It's not in my maze. So are we in the
We're live.
Got it.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3. center of Walnut
Good
Creek.
morning. Great to see you all here. How's everybody doing online, at home, outside? Good to see you. Give us a little wave. All right. So if you feel so moved, you can stand up and sing along. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. Try that again, folks. Why don't we just do guitars first and then you come in next time? 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm in you, you're in me. We're two branches on just one tree. Look around. Part of you and part of me, 'cause we're two branches on just one tree, I look in your heart and I see me. I'm in you, you're in me. We're two branches on just one tree. Look around, all you see is part of
Good morning to this bright, sunshiny, cool day. Isn't it wonderful? Welcome to Unity of Walnut Creek. My name is Bob Hardy. Welcome, welcome.
And my name is Delilah. Welcome to our service. Please join us in turning to the camera and waving at the folks at home. Your presence adds to our spiritual community, and thank you for joining us.
Please join me in welcoming our guest musicians, Starlight, which is John Shinn and Lisa Snortum-Phelps. Joined by the magical Tyler on keyboards, Dusty on bass, and Dan on drums. Thank you for sharing your music with us today.
Reverend Kristin will deliver today's message. Today's message continues the Eye of the Storm series. Today's message is Healing Defensiveness.
Yes.
We all have that, a little bit of that, right? Yeah.
It's a big subject.
Yeah.
Before we begin, I invite you to turn your phones to silent as we enjoy this sacred and fun service together.
Let's take a moment to be grateful for the land our center rests upon. This is the Bay, Miwok, Ohlone, and Yukot's land.
We honor its ancestry and are grateful for those who came before us. We commit to taking care of these sacred native grounds and Mother Earth.
Unity is a positive path for spiritual living. Our vision for the world is, we envision a spiritually awakened world where all life thrives in conscious oneness.
And our mission is who we have come here to be. Join me in saying this together. We are a loving, inclusive community, expanding and living our divinity in sacred service for all. And our core values are love, connection, service, and wisdom.
If you were with us for the first time, welcome. If you feel comfortable, please raise your hand so that we may acknowledge you.
Anybody brand new this
Anybody
morning?
new? Anybody new? It looks like we're all
Right.
here.
Or maybe somebody is new but isn't raising their hand.
There you go.
That's okay.
Welcome anyway, and we're so glad that we have you all with us here today. Please visit the bookstore across the patio after our service to receive a welcome packet and a gift. If you need help in receiving this, please let us know, an usher know. We hope you'll choose to stay and meet some of us on the patio after service today.
Yes, and there's connection cards available in the newcomer welcome packets and in the seat pockets in front of you. These are for everyone. With this card, you may submit a prayer request, and our prayer team will pray with you throughout the week.
You may also share feedback or request information. Please place your card in the basket with the offering. For those of you viewing online, connection cards are available on the Watch Live page of our website.
And please consider comfort levels if hugging one another before and after service. We welcome you to socialize, of course. That's what it's all about, on the patio or in our bookstore. Thank you for being here.
We have several activities to highlight this week. So exciting.
Several activities, yes. We're excited to announce 2 workshops happening this week. Tomorrow night at 6 p.m., join Destiny Urkus and Maritza Buckman for Yoga Nidra and Sound Journey. Enjoy this guided yogic sleep journey as you lie on blankets and pillows and float in a healing sound bath to nourish your nervous system and restore wholeness. That sound great or what? And then, for more relaxation and fun, next Saturday, November 19th, join me. I'll be facilitating a creative spiritual experience with painting. Discover what's longing to be expressed through you. We've had wonderful workshops here in the past, and for those of you who have experienced that, you're, of course, invited to come back and try it again. And I welcome all who would like to give it a go. Good. Looking forward to seeing you.
Let's give thanks together this year. Share your gratitude with your spiritual family at a beautiful and uplifting service on Wednesday, November 23rd at 7 p.m. Then come back at noon on Thanksgiving Day for a festive potluck meal. Please sign up on the patio to bring a carved turkey, side dish, or dessert to share and to volunteer during the event. For those of you online, please sign up by sending an email to office@unityofwalnutcreek.com. .org. Oh.
Did we miss that?
No, we actually don't have we do, but we don't have a word.
Well, let's show a slide about today's workshop, talking about workshops, spirituality through social media.
Hi, it's Reverend Arabella, and I'm excited to facilitate spirituality through social media workshop, where I'm going to be doing some meditative healing work with you. That's right. We're going to be pulling in a whole bunch of Charles and Myrtle Fillmore's Unity principles. We're going to be amping them up in our consciousness during these 2 hours together, and we're going to take them forth individually as we use social media in the future, which I'm going to explain how that is going to help Unity of Walnut Creek, particularly going and moving forward into the expansive future and manifesting and the importance of how we show up online. So yeah, we'll be talking about hashtags and bring your handheld devices because we'll have hands on time. But most importantly, bring an open heart. I hope to see you there.
All right.
Yay. So that's today.
That's 2 o'clock today.
2 o'clock today.
Yes.
Yeah.
The holiday season can be a sacred time to remember a loved one who has made their transition. Honoring your loved ones with your spiritual family as witness is powerful and healing. Our remembrance service is Thursday, December the 1st at 7 o'clock. And we also honor Unity members who have made their transition as well this past year.
And mark your calendars to join us for Unity's Holiday Craft Fair on December the 4th. If you would like to participate as a vendor, stop by the patio and pick up a flyer with more information.
And also, if you would like to help a family in need this Christmas season, please see Carl. Carl Jansen's here.
This is your chance to be an angel. It's a great opportunity. See me outside. We're going to adopt a family, give them the gifts that they're about to have.
All right, Carl. He's going to be delivering gifts on December the 7th, so any gifts for the adoptive family should be here by December the 5th. So thank you, Carl, for your service on that. Please see our website for a full listing, registration, and login information for all of our events, of course. You can also pick up flyers and register for the events in the bookstore, and there are flyers on the back table there on the patio.
As we prepare for our time of meditation, please join me in taking a conscious breath and affirming our statement of faith together. There is only one presence and one power in the universe and in my life, the all-loving goodness of God. We begin with music, followed by guided meditation and silence.
I leave my care in your hands and comfort there. In your hands, all safe and still. In your hands, I leave my will and make the choice to rest this hour. Put my trust inside your power. My life, this world, surrendered now into your hands. In your hands I leave my care, in your hands and comfort there, in your hands all safe and still, in your hands I leave my will, I make the choice to rest this hour, put my trust inside your power, my life this world surrendered now. Your hands.
So we give over. To that one presence and one power. We access from this place within us. Whatever might be burdening our hearts of late. We're keeping our minds busy. Now is the moment to lay it down. Jesus said, "Come to me, all who are burdened, who are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. For my yoke is easy and my burden light." That is the voice of the Christ consciousness. So we come and give over. unburdening our hearts, opening our minds. Let's let this final resonant sound carry us into the silence. And as we emerge from this space, we may begin to notice that we are freer and lighter with every practice of letting go and letting God. Any residual energy you might be hanging on to now, let it be, let it go. So you take a nice deep breath and allow the sound of the bowls to ripple away, dissolving in the light of God's love. So as our own hearts are unburdened and the dogs are reassured no one's at the door, we give thanks. so it is.
In your hands I leave my care. In your hands comfort there. In your hands all safe and still. In your hands I leave my will. I make the choice
So good to be back.
Woo! That was nice, huh? I don't know about you, but I'm going to let it be. It's a good idea. Somebody had a great idea. Thank you all for joining us online as well as here in our sanctuary and folks outside who are basking in the sunshine. It's just a lovely day. So yesterday we had a special experience here celebrating the life of Tom Bradica, who was an integral part of our community. Particularly, he was a co-leader in the healing night that we have once a week on the first Wednesday, and for many years. And also he taught classes on grounding and centering. And so it was really, as it always did when we come together as a community and we tell different ways that we knew somebody, you walk away really feeling closer to the person and like you have a much fuller understanding of who they are. And I always feel a tinge of sadness that I didn't know that person better when they were here, but just really felt great energy in this space. So maybe you felt some of it here. Charlie, one of his good friends, maybe his best friend, who's behind the camera today, said that Tom was really a master at clearing energy. And I tell you, the energy felt so clean in here when we left. So maybe you're feeling some of that today too. So there was a goal that Tom held in his heart as he helped people by clearing things that were in their way. He was a spiritual seer, able to see some things that he helped people with. But his goal was to heal the planet. No small goal, right? And I was really moved by what one person said, one of his colleagues and friends, who said that Tom said, "I'm not going to make my life transition until the awakening begins." And then he said, the awakening has begun, and on September 18th, he made his transition. So let's feel into that gift. The awakening has begun. It's been happening, I think. It's been happening, and it feels sometimes like, oh, we're backsliding. But it's happening. We are waking up. Humanity is waking up. We are waking up to the gifts that we have inside of us, the deep knowing of this I am essence of our beings. And as we awaken to that, we shift everything on the planet. It becomes a place of wholeness. It becomes a place of freedom. It becomes a place of joy. It becomes a place of palpable love because we ourselves are stepping into it. So today we're going to talk about a way to get there, which might seem counterintuitive, but it's meeting up with the resistance. It's meeting up with our own defensiveness and getting beyond that we're really after today. When energy flows, when we are in divine flow, there is that sense of freedom and joy and everything that comes with that. And that's what happens when we get in a space of non-resistance. In the Eye of the Storm, the book we're using for our fall study series, Gary Simmons, the author, likens energy flow to electricity. He says that according to Ohm's law of resistance, Ohm was a German physicist, by the way, the amount of the current that flows in through an electrical conductor is proportional to the amount of resistance in the wire. So when resistance is high, current flow is very low. And when resistance approaches zero, the current can approach infinity. It's the same principle for us. When our resistance is low, divine energy flows through. When our resistance is high, it can hardly eke through. So it's that contracting energy, that resisting energy, that defensive energy that we want to move aside so that the truth can be known through us and felt through us, embodied in through us, and felt in the flow of our relationships with others. So today's wind of conflict, we've been exploring the 4 winds of conflict in this series, and the fourth and final one it is about resistance, but it's how it shows up specifically as defensiveness. And of course, its antidote is non-resistance. So you may be thinking, moi? I am not defensive. You might be getting defensive about the idea that we might be defensive. That's how it works, right? There's layers and layers. But let's think about it. Have you ever, do you think, erected an energetic wall to try to protect yourself, right? Or said words that are tried to protect yourself, try to push the other away or the situation away, whatever it is. Or have you ever kind of explained yourself, maybe ad nauseum, or taken great pains to explain your words and actions because you don't want anyone to be able to poke holes in your integrity? I've done that one a lot. So when we find ourselves in these scenarios, we can notice that, yes, indeed, most of us, all of us human beings, have put up the walls of defensiveness in one way or another in our lifetimes. And it keeps, we think, it keeps our bodies and our minds and our hearts safe. That's why we do it, of course. But the truth is it's not very effective at keeping the bad guys out, whether they're real or imagined. And we know that too, right, from our own experience. It doesn't really work that well, but the issue is we don't really have another way, or we're not really practiced in some other way. So it's looking into then, understanding this a little bit more. Maybe somebody has called you defensive before. They said, oh, you're so defensive, just as if this defines you. But the truth is none of us can be defined by, it's not who we are. We are not defensive. We're just maybe have behaved in ways that appear to be defensive because we've developed a set of strategies to protect ourselves. And we did that when we needed that. And when we didn't maybe have other skills or other knowledge to do otherwise. For most of us, that goes back to early years, right? When we didn't know, so we just built a wall because we didn't know what else to do, right? And just sort of retreated into that space. But what happens is we have that old practice that we don't need anymore, and so we're dwarfing this big person inside of us and still keeping ourselves in that sort of childlike or childish kind of place of defense. And it's keeping everything at bay. It's keeping the bigness of our divinity at bay and everything that flows with that when we are in that kind of knee-jerk reaction, kind of contractual defensive sort of space. But by allowing, stepping in, stepping forward, opening up, we allow all the gifts of that energy flow to come forward for us by approaching life in an open way instead of a defensive one. Love is what we're made of, and love has no need to defend itself. Did you ever notice that? Love just is. That's why we love so much. We love to be in the presence of love. We love to feel love with another person. We love to feel that kind of love that rises up within us when we are mirroring each other, when we are in that beautiful dance with others, where we are in the presence of community that claims itself as love. We're not always going to get that just right. We're not always going to be perfect at that. But in general, hopefully for all of you, when you walk into this place, you feel that sense of love. When you step onto the campus, you feel like, this is a place that feels safe. And so we can begin to put our guard down. That's what we want to create. That's what we want to create out there in the world. Let this be our microcosm, our experiment, our petri dish of what can happen when we roll it out into the world. And let then every one of our lives, our individual lives and our individual relationships, let those also be the experiments of love, experiments of non-resistance, experiments of being brave enough to let the defenses down so that love can make its way through. You know the famous passage from 1 Corinthians 13, love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy nor boast. It is not self-serving nor easily angered. It keeps no account of wrongs. What we often don't quote is the next passage where Paul points us to how to get there. He says, when I was a child, I talked like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. When I became a man, I put aside childish ways. He's basically telling us to grow up. And we can access the love when we spiritually mature, when we grow up, by putting away the childish ways of defensiveness and opening ourselves up to be the big person that we have come here to be. That magnificence that is maybe feels dormant inside of us at times, but then we get a little peek, right? You get a little feeling, and you know, oh wow, there is so much more to this life, to this moment, to this relationship, to myself than I realized. It's real. That stuff we talk about at Unity on Sunday, it's real. You know, you have those moments, right? I hope you do. I hope you have a lot of them. And in those moments, there's an open door. There's a window of light that is calling us to step forward into instead of retreating back from. And that's the dance we're in, basically. That's the dance of ego and soul, isn't it? So as we realize then what we are, as we come into, as we drop defenses and come more open, we realize we are armed, but what we are armed with is light and love. No need for weapons here, be they words or actions or actual weapons, but it is the light of God and the love of God that is the protection, that is all we will ever need. Gandhi showed us that, how to make a complete change in a whole nation through the principles of nonviolence, through ahimsa and what he called satyagraha, soul force, which is the practice of non-resistance, of knowing that wherever I go, I am safe because I am surrounded by the light of God. I am infilled by the light of God. That light of God guides me in every step that I take forward into my life, even in a challenging situation, maybe even more so in a conflictual situation. Morris Adler says, our prayers are answered not when we are given what we ask, but when we are challenged to be what we can be. So our prayers are answered in the presence of conflict. When conflict comes your way, as Maya Angelou always said, whatever comes your way, say thank you. Say thank you because it's an opportunity to grow. Confirm that for yourself in the moment. Instead of, oh no, say thank you. It keeps everything open. It keeps the light and the love that we come forth with. It keeps the access to those things open for us. And so we have these incredible divine tools and flow at our fingertips through our hearts and through our beings. So as conflict arrives, it arrives to free our creativity. It arrives to help us grow up, to help us move and spiritually develop into the mature beings that we've come here to be. When it comes knocking, ask yourself, what part of me wants to push this away? What part of me wants to make this other person wrong? If you can just slow it down a little bit, the reactivity, and ask yourself, what part of me is pushing back? What part of me is starting to strategize to make the other wrong? And if you could just set all that stuff aside and just breathe for a moment, a different way will come. Because you have in your left hand, let's say, divine light, and in your right hand, divine love. And it's all you'll ever need in this life. It's all you'll ever need to move forward, to have the kind of fulfilling relationships I think we all want. Jerry was a superintendent in a rural school district, and the high school wrestling coach in that district had been verbally abusing the players on the team. And so Jerry suspended him. But the coach who got suspended's family was really big in the area, and they were mad. And they were really physical people. And they started calling Jerry and physically threatening him. So one day he was in his office, and 4 cars come screeching into the parking lot, and all the coach's relatives that could fit in those 4 cars pour out, and they start heading for the office. And Jerry quick calls his daughter and says, "Call security." And then, in the few seconds he has left before they reach the door of the office, he breathes and centers himself. And when they come in, there's this big, rush in and tirade of yelling and screaming and big gestures and you, and blaming Jerry. And because he was able to center himself, he just listened. He just stayed open and listened. And when it felt like their tirade was coming to a close, he explained what happened and what led him to make the decision that he made. And that was it. And all of a sudden, these people whose strength was so important to them and this aggressiveness was so important to them, what they recognized in Jerry was inner strength. And they had a lot of respect. And they began to back off, and they began to soften, and they actually then participated in helping resolve the issue with the coach and the players. Jerry's centeredness, his ability to listen, to stay calm in that situation, to not get defensive, allowed the outer events around him, the storm that was happening around him, to come to a calm place and flip it and have the outer mirror the inner experience. That's the work that can happen if we drop our defenses and move into non-resistance. That's the kind of shifts that we can have happen in our outer world because it happens from the inside out. And so that kind of work is laid out for us as an opportunity, as a possibility to give to our world, to give to our relationships. That dance between ego and soul, we always know which path is going to be the better path to take, right? But we have practiced a kind of like a practice groove of the ego way. And that ego way is the defensive posture. That ego way is the stepping away. And the soul's way is to step in, is to be present, is to see how can I be of help in this scenario. And so it's by taking that higher road that we have better outcome. It's, we know the ego's way is mirrored in a conditioned kind of belief system. Gary speaks of this specifically and how our conditioned beliefs persist. He says conditioned beliefs persist in consciousness because they are reinforced by conditioned responses. And this feedback loop is weakened when you become present to a situation that routinely causes defensiveness and instead respond to it authentically. So as we move from defensiveness into non-resistance, I'm reaching back in our Unity history to a chapter in a book called, the chapter is called Non-Resistance, and the book is What Are You by Imelda Shanklin. Imelda Shanklin was one of 4 staff members in the very early days of Unity. She worked side by side with our co-founder, Myrtle Fillmore. She wrote some of the articles for We Wisdom, our children's magazine. And in this particular book, the chapter, when I was introduced to it in the class I had on this book, the teacher had us read that chapter over and over again, 21 days in a row. And she said, because, it takes 21 days to break a habit, so let's work on breaking our habits of resistance so that we can move into a non-resistant way of being. Imelda gives this example in her book that gives it makes it physical, which we can then, a little bit easier, get our hands around and to imagine how that shows up for us otherwise mentally and emotionally. She said one evening she was going out for some kind of entertainment, and when she got to the door of her home, she had already turned all the lights off, and she remembered her ticket was still in the drawer of her desk. But instead of turning the lights back on because she was in a rush, she went back to her desk drawer, and she says this, I was moving rapidly, and as I stooped to open the drawer, my cheekbone came into violent contact with the pointed edge of the chair. She said, I saw stars, I saw moons and suns, I saw the entire Milky Way. And she said, instantly, I put my hand over my cheek, and I said, let us see what my faith, coupled with the willingness of God, will do in this matter. She said there was no hurting. Ordinarily, she said, I would have carried for days the mark of this encounter, but there was no redness, no bruise, no soreness whatsoever. Had I made a fist and struck the chair, she said, I should have had a discolored face and a blackened knuckle. As it was, the encounter left no visible mark whatsoever. So instead of cursing the chair or striking out in retaliation, Imelda instantly moved to that centered place, to the eye of the storm, to that place where she could center in God and call upon the divine to help, to heal. This is what we come from in Unity. This is our history, how we were founded. What we grew out of is this kind of faith healing. How we've gotten out of practice, I'm not sure, but let's put it back into practice. It's powerful stuff. And it shows us that just as a physical healing can happen like that, so too can we center ourselves, bring forth the divine, and allow it to meet any challenging situation we might have, be it psychological, emotional, spiritual, or otherwise. Mental resistance, Imelda said, is the act of receiving hurt, and mental non-resistance is the act of refusing hurt. The essence of non-resistance is unity. The author of our book, Gary Simmons, is a martial artist and teacher of the martial arts. And he talks about how in Aikido, it's about centering and then moving to blend with the other person. That there is, in Aikido, there's value seen in your so-called opponent. And that value is that and understanding that I will not hurt you and you will not hurt me. Yet there is this sort of movement that might look combative. It's more about the movement of energy with one another. He offers this exercise in our book. Some of you in the study groups might do this on your own, but I want to invite a volunteer to come up so we can try it out right here. Anybody want to volunteer? All right, Jesse, thank you. Brave soul. You have no idea what's going to happen here. All right, well, let's face out together. So I'm going to invite you to put your legs or your feet about shoulder width apart. Yeah, there you go. And if you're okay with it, I'm going to put my hand on your chest. So what I'm going to do is just try to push Jesse backwards until I feel that he's getting a little wobbly and I don't want to push him over. Oh, okay. And now I want to invite you to center yourself. So you might imagine that Dantian, I think they call it in martial arts, that center of gravity around your navel, the energy flowing through your feet. Just allow yourself to really be centered, and even allowing my hand to help you center. So letting the hand, the pressure from the hand just kind of come down to your center of gravity. Just feeling yourself centered in spirit. And now we're going to do the same thing. I had to push harder, didn't I? Yeah. Did you notice a difference?
I did.
What was the difference?
I was resistant the first time. The next time my mind was ready for it.
Yeah. So you were more relaxed the second time. Yeah. And did you feel more solid the second time?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. Nice. Thank you, Jesse.
Thank you.
So I do encourage you to try that at home with someone else, because it's really interesting to try it both as the person applying the pressure and the person receiving, because you can really notice the difference. I mean, I could have taken my finger the first time and pushed him back. But the second time, I definitely needed to apply more pressure. So that's how it is, right? That's how it is, the strength that comes from within us. So working that principle in so many ways, let's look at some specific ways, and I like to give a mnemonic device when one comes. So bless is our word for the day, to remember how to heal our defensiveness and move with non-resistance. So the first step is to breathe. It is really amazing how some of the most simplest spiritual practices bring forth the most energy. Breath. Just remembering to breathe opens up the energy. So breathing in and out is a key thing, and I saw Jesse do that in the second time around. And then letting go of our impulse to defend. Well, that one feels really loaded, right? Like, oh, just let go, okay. But there are some ways we can do that that can help us. One is to reach for an affirmation, to speak an affirmation to ourselves, like, I am safe. I am safe, because usually that's what's causing the defensiveness, right? We don't feel safe. So we counter that with the truth, I am safe, or I remain open and curious. We might even identify a gesture that helps us. Maybe putting a hand on your heart will make you feel safer. So as you go into that let go step, you can just, I am safe. Or some other kind of gesture that works for you, whatever it may be. And then to embrace what is here, whatever is before us, whoever is before us, recognizing that this is an opportunity for connection and growth. Again, you might even use an affirmation. Okay, this is an opportunity for connection and growth. Let me remain open and curious to it. And then staying centered, feeling your feet on the ground, breathing into your center of gravity, just remaining centered throughout the conversation, the situation, whatever has arisen. And then finally, stepping toward instead of away from, stepping toward the tension, stepping toward the person for the connection, for the resolution, for the wholeness. Stepping toward because that's what the soul's impulse is to do. And to keep listening then as we step toward with our hearts, to keep listening to what's going on inside of us, to keep listening to what the other person is saying, to be in that kind of centered truth. The deeper need of the other person, of ourselves, can be revealed when we are in that step of stepping forward toward connection. Gary says if resistance is pushing life away, non-resistance is taking life in. So we are taking life in, we are breathing life in, we are drinking life in as we say yes to this way of being in the flow of non-resistance. So let's do that. Let's take life in. As we work this principle this week, let's contribute to peace by laying down our defenses and by opening ourselves up to divine energy, remembering we hold light and love as we go. And if our hands are full with light and love, our hearts are going to be open, right? We'll be ready to meet whatever it is that we need to meet. So I invite you to affirm these truths with me as we work this principle together and move through this wind of conflict with ease and grace. Together, I lay down my defenses and allow divine energy to flow through me, healing relationships and making peace. And so it is.
Thank you, Kristin, for such a wonderful message and that divine energy that flows through us to help us with our defensiveness. Lower those barriers and bring life on. Very inspirational. Thank you. Thank you. Our prayer chaplains are available after the service to provide personal prayer support. If you're a prayer chaplain this morning, if you'd like to stand, please. They're wearing their lavender stoles. If you have a joy or concern in your heart today, praying with the prayer chaplain is a powerful opportunity to raise your intentions up in consciousness. Thank you for your service today. Now let's open our hearts to the practice of giving. I invite you to prepare your gifts as we align with the universal law of circulation. As we give, we shall receive. In truth, there is no lack or limitation. Abundance is our true nature. For your convenience, there's a variety of ways to financially give to this community. In addition to checks and cash, you may download the Give app or scan the QR code in the back of the yellow card, or set up bill pay through your bank. Whatever makes it flow or helps it flow, let it flow. For those of you at home, you may click on the Donate button on the Watch Live page. As we breathe into this offering, as we breathe into this intention of letting it flow and letting life flow and letting the contribution of our positive thoughts and our consciousness in supporting the community, let's take our tithe or offering in our hand and repeat our affirmation together. Divine love, one with me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. I am joy-filled and grateful.
Well, I am joy-filled to bring you this song, which very much reminds me of all of us to step into the light of who we are, the is me.
Burdens that sometimes come, living this thing called life. Am I wise enough to make the right decisions when I'm standing at the fork in the road?
Sometimes I wonder and ponder, only to I'm not alone. There's nothing I have to do on my own, because I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I'm the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up.
I need to do to take care of myself. Will I have the health of mind and body to live a life of grace and wholeness?
Sometimes I wonder and ponder, only to realize not alone. There's nothing I have to do on my own, because I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up.
shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God shows up.
Is that a new one?
Oh, Eddie Watkins wrote that quite a while ago.
We're bringing it back.
Oh, right. Eddie
Yes,
Watkins.
Eddie
Thank
Watkins
you.
Jr. Thank you, Eddie.
Yes. Well, thank you all for the beautifully done. And thank you, Molly and Jerry. Oh, let's just drink it all in. Whew. Let's allow that song, those lyrics, to be what we carry out into the world. I am the place where God shows up. And right here before us are financial gifts that represent a way that God shows up. Shows up for our ministry, shows up for our lives, shows up to continue to move through us, to prosper each of us individually, our community collectively, and by extension, everyone around us. So we thank you, God, for the ability and the willingness and the jumping in and the participating and showing up as God. And let's bless our gifts together. We give thanks for the ever-increasing, constant flow of absolute good in our lives now. So it is.
We are a circle of love. We are a circle of light. Come join the circle of love. Come join the circle of light. The light in you and the light in me are one. The light in you. The light in you and the light in me are one. Oh yeah.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. What would you rather play with, this or this? What would you rather play with?
I'll take
Don,
the
what would you
inflated
rather play with? Yeah.
Yeah.
We're a lot like a balloon, aren't we? And we were talking today about how it's not on the outside that matters, but what's on the inside. Can you guys start blowing some spirit inside these balloons? And our spirit can be our thoughts and our minds, that life force energy. You want to show him yours, Sebastian? Show him? No. No, he's got a balloon full of spirit too, trust me. Yes, full of spirit, full of life force energy. And it's not about what your shape of your balloon is or what color your balloon is. It's about the spirit that's inside your balloon, right? And then when that day comes and it's time for you to go back to spirit, what happens, Adrian? Woo! You go right back out there to spirit where you came from.
I can relate to that.
Thank you.
Thank you for that beautiful lesson. Let's bless our children and teachers. Together, children, youth, and teachers, we love you, we bless you, we appreciate you, and we behold the divine light within you. We invite you to join us now in our prayer of protection, followed by the peace song, and perhaps follow along with some sign language led by Susan and Terry. All right. Together, the light of God surrounds us. I am light. The love of God enfolds us. I am love. The power of God protects us. I am power. The presence of God watches over us. I am presence. Wherever we are, God is. I am divine.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God ever present, family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
You are the light, the love, the peace, and the non-resistance on earth right now. So let your light shine. Have fun and spread joy.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.